You're watching Meet the Movie Press, and coming up, we're going to be talking about the Oscars, Bill Paxton, and which Oscar nominee is going to become a Broadway musical?
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Meet the Movie Press.
Typity type.
Good morning, Simon.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How
Good,
are
yeah.
you? You smell like celebrity.
Yes. I've been rubbing
shoulders
very close to a lot of them, and actually getting hugs and kisses on the weekend.
I want to hear all about
which
it.
was nice.
Guys, we're going to talk about the Oscars a lot today. So
something
if you're
happened.
sick of it,
Yeah.
go somewhere else.
Tough titties.
Do I sound okay in the headphones? Because I sound a little off on my
You
mic.
sound a little bit raspy.
Yeah. Can we hear that in the booth?
You're a bit toppy.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, it's been a quiet news week in general. Hey, Jeff, first of all, who are you and where can we find you?
Oh, yeah,
Almost
I forgot
that bit.
I am Jeff Sneider, editor-in-chief of the Tracking Board,
Interesting.
tracking-board.com. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @TheInSnyder.
Hello, I'm Simon Thompson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ShowbiZSimon. I also have a Facebook page. This is Simon Thompson. that was a little bit like a 1980s soda advert there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Simon Thompson.
That good Sprite fizz.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's where I am. That's who I am.
Okay,
Yeah.
before we get into like the nitty-gritty of the Oscars, why don't you tell me about your experience?
Well-
what did you do on Sunday night? You were all dolled up.
Well, yes. On Saturday, I went to the Spirit Awards, which were great, by the way. Great to see a lot of amazing films being recognised there that weren't recognised at other awards ceremonies.
It's crazy. When I thought Jason Statham was there on the carpet.
Right. It's me, wasn't it?
It was you.
Yeah. I often get mistaken. It's because of my muscly physique, to be honest with you. But no, so I did that on Saturday, and then Sunday was obviously the Oscars went off. I was backstage at the Vanity Fair party, which is the after party to go to, because after the Oscars everybody goes to the Governor's Ball party and then they kind of go off to studio parties, etc., but the Vanity Fair party is the one to be seen at. Jason Statham was there, incidentally.
Did you say hello?
It's like looking in a mirror. I did. I waved, and he was very pleased to see me.
He winked at you.
He did. He remembers the little pun that I did when I did the interview for the Transporter 2. Showbiz friends. So it was very exciting. But I was there it was just kind of getting... There's kind of two waves of guests on the red carpet at the Vanity Fair. People who come in before the event to then sit and have dinner and watch it. So
Right,
you
the
get,
viewing party.
Yeah. So people like Ron Howard and Martin Short and kind of and John Voight, the old kind of the Hardy stock who aren't nominated that year. But then everybody watches the ceremony unfold. So the red carpet goes quiet. Sacha Baron Cohen sneaks in as he usually does with his wife. For some reason, he always does that when the press is not looking or interested.
He's sneaky.
Or interested. And so basically, we were all watching it unfold on the big screen. So we were just getting ready. Okay, fine. Most of the big ones have been announced. Here's the... Oh, God. Oh, no. Okay, the mix-up happened. The unveil happened. The big... Perhaps one of the most memorable moments in the entirety of Oscar history. Happened, which means that you had news outlets from around the world suddenly ripping up all their stories about La La Land sweeping the board, the first Muslim winning an Oscar for Best Supporting. All these stories that they'd been working on and written, and they'd got the audio and it was all ready to file, had gone.
Right.
And suddenly it was just... When we had like I was actually on the BBC Twitter feed because the BBC crew was standing next to me. My face was just absolute shock and awe. I might have said a couple of rude words. I did say a couple of rude words. So did everybody else. We couldn't believe it. So my shocked face was all over the internet, which is quite weird.
Did people screenshot it? Like send it?
Yeah, they did the BBC screenshot. I'll show you later. I've got it on my phone. It's my new profile picture.
Okay.
It looks like I'm kind of yawning as well. Oscar's so boring, but not this year, certainly. So people couldn't believe it. So everybody had to scrap all the lines that they had. All the guests started coming in, which meant that obviously what happens at the Vanity Fair party is where all the winners turn up with their Oscars. Now, obviously, this kind of threw everything into chaos because everybody was like, a lot of the talent who didn't want to talk about what happened would bypass all the press. There were two lines, the press line and then the line where you line up to get photos.
Yep.
So a lot of the major names who were there, either presenters or in the audience or nominees, they all kind of avoided the media by the most part. There was a handful that didn't. And then obviously you would usually get the best picture winners, best director winners coming through as well. It was not until the end of the night that we started to see people coming through from Moonlight and from...
Well, sure. I'm
from
imagining
stuff
they
like
needed
that.
to
They
decompress
just
after
wanted
that
to-
huge moment.
Yeah, but everybody had really interesting takes on it, to be honest with you. Some were like, they just couldn't believe it had happened. Some were just like, okay, well, everybody was really cool about it. I spoke to Miles Teller, who'd actually spoken to Damien Chazelle, and he was like, look, he's won Best Director. He's the youngest guy to do that, so he's had a good night regardless, but he'll take it in his stride. He's a professional. The guys from Moonlight came through and spoke to Naomi Harris, spoke to one of the producers, and they were all like, do you know what? There is genuinely so much love between the Moonlight guys and the La La Land guys as filmmakers, and they've all been doing similar interviews with similar outlets for about the similar amount of time over the last 6 months, and they got a genuine bond. So it wasn't like they lost out to people who they were kind of really PO. They didn't have that bond with. They genuinely were like, we're
Award
two movies.
season
Yeah,
just brings people together.
but
folks.
it's really weird in Hollywood because there's a lot of egos in Hollywood and there's a lot of competition in Hollywood. So it's actually quite rare to see people who are genuinely, when you lose an Oscar, it goes to the wrong person and you have to hand over that gold award that everybody in Hollywood just wants to get once in their career, or just a sniff. You have to hand it over to someone else. To be cool about that says a hell of a lot about the teams and the individuals.
It was a devastating moment.
Craziness.
For someone I consider a friend, Jordan Horowitz.
Yeah.
I've been with La La Land for over 2 years, I feel like, having tracked it before it was even cast. I have the lookbook, Damien's lookbook, on my computer.
Wow.
And Mark Platt is not even listed as a producer on that lookbook. That's how early it was in the process.
Yeah.
So this project has really been a part of my life for years.
Yeah.
And I was so proud to see Jordan up there on that stage and deliver his speech and call out his wife, Julia Hart. And to see that taken away from him was tough. At the same time, yeah, you have to be thrilled that a movie like Moonlight, $1.5 million budget, no real recognizable stars, at least not like La La Land, winning Best Picture. Like, that's what is sort of unfortunate. Not only the humiliation, in a sense, of the La La Land guys getting their moment and having it taken away, but that Moonlight never really got its moment because the controversy overshadowed its accomplishment. And that sort of got lost in the headlines the following day. But let's now talk about what went down.
Yeah.
This seems like it's like... I feel like it's like the JFK assassination or something. Like, there's one.
Where were you?
There's one shooter.
Yeah.
There's one guy.
Yeah.
Brian Cullinan. Variety did a great Zapruder tape-like breakdown with all these photos backstage that never really were published. They were just kind of part of a photographer's camera, that, and they sifted through the metadata for the timestamps. And so he was, Emma Stone won Best Actress.
Yep.
She came backstage. He took a photo of her. He must have been holding at that point or at some point the backup Best Actress envelope and the Best Picture envelope. And he just handed the wrong one to Warren Beatty. He was distracted. And Warren went out there, and clearly he knew something was wrong because he opened up the card and says Emma Stone, La La Land. And then Warren, again, it's not your fault at all, but totally threw Faye Dunaway under the bus.
Yeah.
She just hands her the card, and she just reads La La Land, so set her up to fail a little bit.
Yeah. I
think he was just showing it to her. Like,
yeah, but it's also the kind of equivalent. Everybody's done this in a relationship where it's like, this milk tastes off. Try it. It's kind of it's the on stage in front of billions of people version of that.
Right.
Yeah.
I get that. Like, in that moment, you're just trying to like read off a name. You can't be like, wait a second, I have to go backstage or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they say La La Land, everybody gets to the stage, they get through 2.5 acceptance speeches. By the time Fred Berger gets up there, he basically already knows he's lost, but he still takes the mic and like reads out a quick sentence or two, and then he's like, by the way, we lost.
Yeah.
So Jimmy Kimmel is seated in the audience. Okay, did you read Steve Pond's thing on the
Yes,
rap?
I did, yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
I don't think I had linked to the rap since I got fired back in May. But this story was so great, and I love Steve Pond so much that I had to put it back out there. So he got an interview with the stage manager. I believe his name is Gary Natoli, longtime stage manager. Steve's been doing this for a long years, and this is exactly the kind of scoop that only a veteran, awards reporter can really get.
Yeah.
And so the Academy had already released statements at that point. PricewaterhouseCoopers, everyone had sort of weighed in, but all those statements, 20 people must have okayed that Academy statement, right? 20 people at PricewaterhouseCoopers reviewed that statement. Gary Natoli, nobody's reviewing what he says. It's not political at all.
Yeah.
It's just the straight, unvarnished truth. And he totally threw Cullinan. He was just like, it was all Cullinan. And the fact that they had to shove Martha and Brian out there because they just panicked in the moment. And it's understandable. They're accountants. They're not, like, supposed to be great under pressure. But, so what do you think of the punishment, Simon?
Do you know what? If you do a job and you cock it up, you don't do that job anymore. So I think them not doing the Oscars anymore is fair.
Completely appropriate.
Completely appropriate.
Now, what do you think? Do you think Martha deserved to lose her job? Like, I understand, obviously, it was Brian's mistake.
Yeah.
But she didn't run out there quick enough and stop the chaos.
No.
And she was supposed to have everything memorized, so she should have known.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's an element of blame. I don't think she should have lost her job. I think she should have had what we call in the UK a bollocking.
But it's understandable.
But it's understandable.
Like, you
but
can
also
get why the Academy just has to be like, we need two, because ultimately, it doesn't fucking matter
no,
which
no, no.
accountants
The
are
method
bringing it
behind
out.
the madness absolutely works. But I actually had dinner with, I had lunch with a former boss of mine and who's a mentor of mine and who I was actually up for an Oscar himself this year for Watani. It was a documentary that IGN Productions made, and I worked with them, so complete disclosure there. And I had a conversation with him. We were talking about the exact same thing. Were there ways or things that could have been done that could have put some sort of failsafe in there? And I'm like, there is one. If you knew that there's a possibility, if you have two envelopes and something could potentially go wrong there, you're eliminating a lot of factors. But what you do is you also have the result, because no one in the audience can really see it. You have it on the teleprompter. Now, if you're the
Someone's
person...
got to load that teleprompter, though.
Yeah, but the thing is, they do, but they already know what's in those cards. Somebody from whoever's managing that, let's say on this case, PricewaterhouseCoopers, they know what is written on those cards in those envelopes.
Right.
So what you have is you basically have it loaded on the teleprompter. So at the same time that they get the envelope...
another human being besides PricewaterhouseCoopers has to load that teleprompter.
That's what you do. That's what you do in TV. You have someone controlling... You have a separate person who is just literally doing that job, and that's your fail-safe, because if it doesn't say right on the card and you're being told something else on the teleprompter, you can look at it, you can see they don't correlate, and then you basically go, I need verification on this, and you get told from someone off stage. That's what you do.
I don't like it. I think it's dangerous.
But from my experience in live television, that is what you do, and I produce
no one in the room
hundreds of hours of it.
Sure, but that's not the Oscars. And the Oscars, no one, including the Academy president, knows the winner. That's the whole point. That,
but also when you have instances that you have to have a fail-safe. If people know what's in the envelope, people know what's gone in there, because someone has printed those cards or written those cards.
I think this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing we'll never see again.
Have a fail-safe. I think if we'd had a fail-safe, we wouldn't have had such a debacle at the end of the Oscars. From my experience in TV production, that's what I would have done.
Do you think the Academy should fire PricewaterhouseCoopers after 83 years and doing the Oscars proud?
No. I don't think it's the company's fault. I think it's the
one
individual's
guy.
fault.
It's one guy.
Personally, that's just my thing.
Now, they had to hire security recently, Simon.
Yes, they did.
There are people outside their homes. Who are these people who care about the Oscars more than us?
Well, they're not Trump voters. Because apparently nobody who supports Trump was watching the Oscars. Because it's all lefty liberal stuff.
I could get it.
I don't know. If you're threatening these Pricewaterhouse guys, I mean, I don't know how true that is. You really need to find something else to do with your time.
Right. It's like the right person won. It's like they're treating them like a referee that blew a game that can't be replayed. The correct call was ultimately made.
The messenger fucked up. But the messenger didn't know in this case what the message was, and it was that they gave it the wrong envelope. I don't think Price Waterhouse should have done it. I think there should have been some sort of retribution, whether that's financial or whether there's some sort of public acknowledgement, make a charity donation or something. But I think
Meanwhile,
if you're a massive accounting firm, this is like. This is your moment.
Listen, it's a blow to that brand, but at the same time, there's no such thing as bad press. Okay, and more people are talking about the Oscars. More people are talking about Moonlight. More people are talking about PricewaterhouseCoopers than ever before. This is the most. It's not even like, Josh Dickey actually tweeted something like this, where people are toying with their leads, like in one of the most epic mess ups ever. It is the most. It's you're qualifying it. It is not one of. It is the.
It's one of the defining moments in any live television. I mean, if you were doing a list of the 50 biggest cock-ups on television, this is going to be...
I wasn't talking about television as a whole, but in terms of the Academy Awards,
this is one of the biggest defining moments.
It is the biggest. That's what I'm saying. It's not one of the biggest. It's the biggest. No?
There are several seminal moments in the Oscars. I would certainly put... Oh, yeah, okay. It potentially is the biggest, but it's certainly...
It's the biggest.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's talk about the rest of the show. What did you think of the rest of the show?
I thought the rest of the show was really well done. I really liked Jimmy Kimmel as the host. I thought his stuff was great.
The Matt Damon bits were obviously really funny, and they were going to close on that.
Yeah, I thought that was great. I would have loved to have seen. If Jimmy Kimmel is even watching, I don't know if he's a fan of the show, but I would love to see them redo what the end of the Oscars would have been with just him and Matt. I want to see what that punchline was.
Maybe that's how they'll start it next year. As Scott Feinberg sort of suggested, they should start with Moonlight giving its acceptance speech next year.
They should absolutely ask him back next year. I think he did a sterling job. I thought he was very funny. I think the balance between politics and not politics was really, really good. I thought it was right. I thought there were some really good jokes in there. I thought he was very personable. I loved the idea with the bus. A little bit long on the tourist stuff there with the bus stuff. Would have cut that about a minute shorter. But I thought it was great. I thought it was really good fun. I thought the audience were having good fun with it as well. There were several nice touches in it. As far as live TV goes, until the end, I thought it was pretty exemplary. I thought all the hosts did a really good job. It was an interesting show. These award ceremonies can be really dull sometimes, but
what did you think of the tourist bit where they brought in all the tourists?
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, I really liked that. I thought it was a little bit overlong.
Yeah,
but I thought it was good.
It made me it made me laugh. It made me a little uncomfortable though. Like I get that that's funny. It's like a funny moment, but I don't know. It felt like Hollywood laughing at these normal people. Like, look at these schmucks who just came off Hollywood Boulevard in their cargo shorts and shit like that.
Kind of, but I don't see them complaining because they get their moment. I mean, I honest to God thought that if that last moment hadn't happened at the Oscars,
it would have been a great show.
The couple from Chicago would have been on every single daytime show, from Ellen to The View. They would have been on everybody as those couple. And it would have been Denzel. Can we get Denzel to turn up at our wedding in the summer? That would have been one of the big stories that came out of it. They would have been the Chewbacca mom of this week.
Speaking of Denzel, what did you think of his reaction when Casey won? He was like stone-faced.
There were a lot of,
I think that...
Obviously, there was talk about Brie Larson as well, not clapping when Casey won, but...
Listen, that's her right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's her right. They kind of make these presenters... Like, if I were her and I knew I was going to do that, I might not have even accepted the honor. I mean, I guess it's hard not to... Do
you know what?
It's hard to turn down the Academy,
Here's what I think. Personally, I think, I would much rather at an awards ceremony see somebody with a pissed off face or an annoyed face, whether they win or lose or whether they disapprove of someone getting an award, than fake it. I would that's true. But if you don't approve, then I'm okay with you. We don't have to agree with that, but it's at least they're honest.
But I feel like an even bigger statement would have been if she was just like, you know what, I don't feel comfortable. Like, I feel like he's going to win. I don't want to be in that position presenting him an award. I'm not going to show up tonight. Like, thank you for the offer.
Yeah, but I think
I might have passed on it.
Do you know what? I think she did the right thing. I think she stepped into the background, and I think she didn't
it wasn't
clap. It wasn't a big thing. She didn't make a big thing about it because the thing is, the more you pour oil on these flames, sometimes the bigger it becomes, and that would have overshadowed more of the Oscars. So I think she made absolutely the right call.
She knew it wasn't about her.
So yes.
And Casey was asked about it the next morning by the Boston Globe, and he was just like, "Listen, people don't know the full story, and he's legally prohibited from saying anything. That's why people are frustrated in these interviews that he's not like explaining his side of the story or what happened. Like they made a settlement and they agreed not to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
So." I don't know what people want of the guy. I thought his win was very well deserved, but it was funny to see. It was kind of funny to see Denzel so disappointed. I feel like all the pundits had started predicting him in recent weeks, and then he won the SAG Award, which he had never won before. Yeah. So I think he started believing that he was going to win, and his team started making him feel like that. But it wasn't to be.
I think my favorite face of the night was The Rock when, obviously, at the end of the show, I thought he was going to literally jump up on stage and start something.
That's the people's eyebrow, right?
Yeah, he was literally like. He gave it full Rock face.
Did you like the opening number with Timberlake?
I thought it was. Yeah, I did. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was spectacular. I would have liked to have seen. It felt like a
weird way to open the show. It felt like the Grammys. I don't know.
Yeah, it just felt too similar to many of the other award shows in that respect. But the Oscars tends to open on a musical number. I did like the way they did Moana, though.
Yeah, even though she got hit in the head.
I did.
I thought that
I got a hug from Moana afterwards. Bless her. She is a genuinely. I really wish her success in the industry because she is such a genuinely lovely young woman.
I think she's going to have a lot of success.
Yeah, I think she is. But let's talk about the in memoriam as well.
Right, exactly. That's a good segue.
Okay, because obviously there were a couple of incidents with that. There was the incorrect photo of someone who passed being put up, and obviously I didn't. I was going to talk to Patricia Arquette about this backstage, but obviously her sister was missed off. Obviously having died last year, and I think that was an oversight. I did wonder why she wasn't included. Mm-hmm. And I think it was purely an oversight. And obviously, it was too late to add in Bill Paxton, who had we'll get to this later, but literally died. He died the day before, and it was announced on Sunday morning. So yeah, I mean,
but I like that they gave him a mention before it.
Yes, they did. I thought Jennifer Aniston was very classy in the way that she delivered that. She was obviously personally very affected by his death. But do you know what? He was just someone who was. Yeah, we'll get to it later.
Let's get to it now. That's what I was getting at.
He was someone that that was. I mean, he's done some iconic roles. He has never been the biggest star in Hollywood. He's always been consistently working. He's always been someone who's recognizable and has done iconic roles. But, you know, he's not a Clooney. He's not a Cruise. You know, he was never that level. But everybody was so, especially when I spoke to them at the Oscars, so genuinely upset and sad about his passing.
Well, it was a crazy thing. He went in for what, heart surgery?
Yeah.
And he just died from complications of the surgery. That's, you know, when you go into surgery, obviously you take that risk, but you never really think that that's how it's going to end.
Well, I got to spoke to Ron Howard about it at Vanity Fair, and he was genuinely. I mean, obviously they worked together on Apollo 13. Mm-hmm. He was genuinely very sorry about it, and he said that, you know, the difficult thing is the fact that he was only, you know, that day driving through Hollywood, and he'd see all the big boards for training day with Bill's face on it,
right.
And then he literally moments later found out that Bill had died. And he was like, you know, he wanted to. He watched a lot of Bill's work, and he always had conversation, had an ongoing relationship with Bill, and he wanted to watch it and tell Bill what he thought, and he never had that chance.
Yeah, I woke up to like a text message that morning, and it was like crazy about Paxton.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, that can only mean one thing. Fuck.
I mean,
I loved him. I genuinely loved him. I thought he was terrific.
Yeah.
I was a huge Big Love guy. So
great show.
If you either watched that show or you didn't, and I feel like you think differently about Bill Paxton if you did. It's definitely I think it's his biggest role. It's probably his most defining role. He may have been in bigger movies, you know, but as far as the role,
Terminator,
like a small, you know, it's like young punk and Terminator. Like he created a character over 5 or 6 years on Big Love that was terrific. Yeah,
his whole resume was absolutely littered with
A Simple
great
Plan is Paxton's best work.
I was going to say that's something I mentioned in a piece that I did for Forbes this week, actually, and Joshua Hunt has mentioned that. Simple Plan is a massively underrated and hugely generally overlooked piece of work, and it's great. I loved him in Frailty as well. Mm-hmm. Which is a great movie.
I want to see his new movie, Mean Dreams. I was looking forward to that. And I don't know what happens with Training Day. I mean, it seems like that'll probably
We don't even know if it's been renewed for a second season. I'm assuming it.
You can't replace him. I mean, what do? Write him out and get another instructor in there?
Yeah.
I think that show's a goner. But R.I.P. to Bill Paxton. He really was
really sad loss.
A delight to watch.
I was genuinely sad when I heard that news. You know, it's he was a great guy. Great performances and great movies.
All right, we have to move it along.
Okay.
Let's talk about yesterday's big rumor.
Yeah.
From El Mayimbe over at The Wrap. David Harbour.
Yes.
It was a little oddly worded. I'd to play Cable, essentially. He has screen tested for the role.
Yeah.
Collider confirmed that reporting and said, that he's in the mix. In the mix is different than the choice.
Yep.
It suggests that the door is still open. I'm sure they screen tested more than one person. But what would you make of this if it did end up being David Harbour?
Do you know? I think that'd be an interesting choice, and I think he would probably do a really good job. To be honest with you, I like the idea of having. I think we've seen a trait of this quite recently, where you've seen people who aren't particularly well known. They're not household names, but they're good, solid actors. We saw this in John Wick, and they make a really good villain. And I think David Harbour would fit into that. He's well known for doing Stranger Things. He's obviously done a lot of other stuff previously, but he's probably best known as he's that guy from That Thing. He's currently in that stage in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Stranger Things has, a lot of people didn't know his name, but they now do know his name. I think he'd be really good. I'd be very interested to see that. I think certainly to get him in, at least for a screen test, is a very, very shrewd idea. And I think he'd probably be, as much as I like the idea of Pierce Brosnan, I think he'd be less distracting than Pierce Brosnan because he's not a bigger star as Deadpool. And again, I think that's a really nice... It worked in Deadpool that the villain didn't overshadow Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool as the character. I think he could bring enough to it to be a really good character. And we saw this again in Logan. Someone who's not a household name doing a really good badass role.
I've even before Stranger Things, which has blown up his stock for sure.
Yeah.
I was a huge David Harbour fan. I think he's
been around for a long time and done a lot of great things.
I think he's just a really good actor. That said, I was surprised that they're not going after a bigger name, or that they couldn't get a bigger name. I don't know what happened there.
I think they could get one if they wanted. I mean, obviously there was some fan stuff online that Russell Crowe.
Why aren't they?
Well, Russell Crowe reacted to this week.
Right.
Someone had mocked up a Russell Crowe.
It seemed like he was actually interested.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see if it ends up being him. Fox wasn't commenting yesterday. It would be interesting, and I guess they don't need a big name because people are going to see Deadpool 2 anyways. Yeah. But I don't know. We'll see. The other big news yesterday was that Travis Knight, the director of Kubo and the Two Strings, is going to direct the Transformers spin-off Bumblebee.
Very pleased about this for many reasons.
Yeah, who made this decision over at Paramount?
A genius.
It's a great
genius.
Call. Yeah. Whoever that is should be running the studio.
I mean, aside from the fact that Kubo and the Two Strings is one of the best films of last year. It was hands down. I absolutely love that film. Travis is just a brilliantly creative guy, and he's so full of ideas, it's almost sickening. But also, the Transformers franchise, I've looked forward to so many of those films and those franchises, and they have always disappointed because they seem so empty. It's just big fighting and noise. I think finally, with Travis Knight at the helm, this is where we could see the Transformers really genuinely come into its own and actually be, shock horror, a good movie.
I am inclined to agree with you there, actually. I think that...
Hang on. This is recording.
We are
This is
agreeing.
Recording. Are you okay?
Bumblebee,
do you want to have a lie down? Do you want to cuddle?
I think, listen, Christina Hodson wrote this script.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of opportunity there for heart and emotion. I don't know what direction they're going to go with it, but I could see it being a little bit smaller scale than Michael Bay's Transformer movies, which I think would actually be interesting. Almost like a more human Transformers. And Travis Knight seems like a great call. All those Leica movies have had heart. Yeah. Kubo and the Two Strings was probably the best out of all of them.
Yeah. I was genuinely disappointed that didn't win the Oscar last weekend. Mm-hmm. Because, as much as I, loved Moana, Zootopia, many other in the categories, seriously, Kubo absolutely entranced me. And the fact
gorgeous,
that
that's for sure.
God. I mean, when you think that stop motion animation...
I think the stories of Moana and Zootopia were better, but I don't think...
That's fair.
I actually don't think any of like I don't love any of Laika's movies. I think that I don't think any of them are
Really?
bad though. I think they're all good
Yeah,
movies.
see, I'm a fan of theirs.
Paranorman, Coraline, they're all like 2.5 star movies for me. But Kubo was probably the best one. I think this is a really smart call.
Yeah.
Congrats to Paramount. Now, speaking of Paramount, I broke a story this week
Yeah.
that Mike DeLuca is in talks to take over the studio.
Yeah.
I broke it late at night on Wednesday after speaking to more than a dozen sources. I was a little surprised and a little worried that none of the trades followed in the 24 hours to come.
Yeah.
And then I saw a story late last night on the New York Post saying that DeLuca basically confirming my reporting that he was the choice, but that he may not get it because of the Oscars snafu, which I think is just preposterous. I don't think if Paramount was really ready to hand over the studio to Mike DeLuca, that some accountant's fuck up at the Oscars should prevent them from doing that.
No.
I was shocked to read that in the New York Post. Now I think that they have very good Viacom sources. They've been on top of the Paramount situation with Brad Gray, but I don't know. I think Paramount.
That was not his fault.
Of course,
That was not in any way his
and maybe
fault.
they should have. They were backstage. Maybe they should have gotten to the stage quicker and corrected things. But you don't not give a guy a job running a studio because of a fucking envelope mix-up. This is ridiculous. Mike DeLuca is the right call for Paramount. I think he's a really strong leader. I think he has great taste. I think people really like him. The second that Hollywood Reporter did its story about Scott Stuber taking over the Netflix operations, which was a job that had flown under the radar. Everyone's talking about who's going to replace Michael Linton at Sony. Who's what's going to happen with Legendary and Jim Giannopoulos and Paramount, and the Netflix job was flying under the radar, and I had been tracking it, and so Scott, THR reported that Scott Stuber is in talks to take over that job. He's a Universal-based producer. As soon as I saw that, I was like, DeLuca has to be getting Paramount. If it's not Stuber, it's got to be DeLuca, because Rob Friedman, as much success as he's had at Summit and Lionsgate, I was in Anguilla last summer with my family. He has a house down there. When you do a boat tour around Anguilla, they're like, that's Rob Friedman's house. If you have a boat, your own private place down in Anguilla, you're just not as hungry as the other guys. And I think that Paramount would benefit from someone a little bit younger, a little bit hipper and edgier, like a Mike DeLuca, who's not afraid of taking some big swings.
That's fair.
Three Best Picture nominations. I don't know if they were in a row, but it was Social Network, Moneyball, Captain Phillips. That is the kind of adult movies we need more of.
Yep.
Paramount is actually a studio that doesn't have the greatest IP and franchises. Plus, they're all getting very long in the tooth. I mean, Transformers, you're up to 5. Star Trek, you're up to 4. And the last one lost $100 million.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible 6. You need
Monster
new...
Truck. Oh, no.
You need new stuff.
Yeah.
And I think Mike DeLuca is the guy for that studio. We will see if Bob Bakish at Viacom ends up going in that, ends up closing a deal. A lot has to be done. DeLuca would have to untangle himself again from Universal, where he's based. I don't know what would happen to all his projects that he set up all over town.
Yeah.
And he also moved to Texas recently. So that would be quite the commute, but we'll see.
It would be. He would have to leave early to beat the LA traffic.
What's next?
Okay, let's talk about Scorsese's The Irishman.
Yeah, and then I want to hear about your scoop.
Okay, cool. Let's do that after this.
Okay.
So Scorsese's The Irishman reportedly to cost $125 million to make because it's going to be quite sort of effects heavy, and what they need to do with it to create it is going to be expensive. Now, that's only $25 million less than Hugo.
Yeah.
It's not the world's biggest budget. It's not cheap.
It's expensive for a gangster movie.
It is.
Where other directors, if they didn't have Scorsese's clout, may have just said, all right, well, we're going to cast John Bernthal as De Niro.
Well, also let's look at Scorsese's recent track record.
Hasn't been good.
Has not been good. That to me.
Well, Wolf of Wall Street was actually a fucking huge movie. But Silence bombed. Yeah.
It has,
Hugo.
Hugo didn't do well. I mean, that's 6 years ago now, Hugo. But really, to jump to my mind straight away, Wolf of Wall Street is the only big movie he's had.
I mean, Departed was still only 10, 11
yeah,
years ago.
But that's a lot of money to.
Is that the last 4 movies? Is it Departed, Hugo, Wolf of Wall Street, Silence?
Yeah.
I mean,
So it's patchy.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
patchy.
He's got a Best Picture winner in there, Best Picture nominee. I don't know. I think for Netflix, it's a drop in the bucket. Like, I love that they took over this project and rescued it because, you know what? These guys are fucking old. De Niro, Pacino, Pesci especially. They're getting up there.
Yeah. I mean, a cast I want to see. I want to see
I
the
want to
movie.
see this. I want to see this.
I do want to see the movie. Don't get me wrong.
Let's not talk about it for another 5 years like we have been. Let's fucking get some money together and make it. And that's what I love about Netflix.
That just seems like a lot of money to me.
They can mobilize quickly. Yeah, but it's not like they're trying to recoup it at the box office.
True.
I agree. 125 to 150 million, which is what this movie could cost. It seems a little outrageous.
Yeah.
It'd be like, Marty, where can we make some cuts here, buddy? I don't necessarily need to see a digitally de-aged De Niro and Pesci, but you know what? That could be fucking cool too. So.
I don't need to see it, but if I see it, that's kind of awesome.
Well, it's like I'd be fine casting John Bernthal as young De Niro. I don't know who would play young Pesci. That would be tough.
Kevin Hart.
I was gonna say like Jonah Hill or Josh Gad or somebody.
Yeah, Josh Gad. We'll get to Josh Gad later.
Okay.
We'll get to Josh Gad later.
So tell me about this. Okay. Which Oscar nominee is going to be a Broadway musical?
A number of movies. It's not Hacksaw Ridge. I'll give you that straight up front. I give you a bit of backstory. I did some interviews for ITN in the UK at the end of last year for the movie, for a movie, which has only just come out in the UK. I spoke to the cast and I spoke to someone who did the music. And I floated an idea, just as you do in interviews, what would be quite fun, just as a jovial off-the-cuff thing, to see if the movie was successful, the potential vehicles. The movie was Hidden Figures.
Oh!
The movie was Hidden Figures. So, I sit in a room in New York with Pharrell Williams, and jovially, just being cheeky little Brit, I float the idea of him being a big music guy. Would it be quite fun to create Hidden Figures, the musical? A lot of movies get turned into musicals these days. It would be great on Broadway. And it has done phenomenally well. I mean, it's done, 185.7 million worldwide.
Songs were good.
Songs were good. The music was great. 60s infused. A lot of potential there. His response to me was, I'm not at liberty to talk about that, but you're, I'm with a bit of a raised eyebrow. And I was like, oh, okay, so have I? He went, look, I'm not at liberty to discuss that. So I thought, let's try it on the women. Janelle Monáe being in there, musical artist, very good. Put the idea to all of the female cast, to which Janelle said, I could see that. In fact, Alison was talking about that, the writer. She was talking to me about that. So it appears that I might have put a musical cat amongst the Hidden Figures pigeons by the fact that clearly...
I don't know what that means, but okay.
You've never heard the phrase cat amongst the pigeons? Maybe it's a British thing.
No, I have not.
Basically, it's when you put your foot in it. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, from the responses that I got from both Pharrell, who was very much like, you're not supposed to know about this, it looks like Hidden Figures, there are certainly conversations about it being turned into a musical for Broadway, which I think would actually work really, really well. So yeah, Pharrell's response, I'm not at liberty to talk about that, but you're, with a raised eyebrow, is pretty good.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think it obviously...
That would make a lot of sense as well.
It would make a lot of sense. I mean, it's received, awards nominations. It's been very successful at the box office. The score lends itself very well to it. I can see that.
Now, why would you not report this for one of your outlets?
Well, it's actually run in the UK. The interviews have already run in the UK. Nobody picked up the story. So I thought, I'll bring that one home.
All right. Cool.
So yeah, so it was interviews that I did for ITN last year with the cast in New York, and it was just actually the interview that's online with Janelle and her co-stars is she does mention this, but the Pharrell one has not gone out there. But there you go. So it seems like Hidden Figures, the Broadway show, could very much be a thing. I would actually like to see that. There have been some great movies turned into very successful musicals. I mean, look at things like The Bodyguard. Obviously, there are numerous Disney properties. Dirty Dancing, Grease, many. So I think it's a good idea. Ghost.
We do have a little bit of breaking news.
Okay.
Got a press release that Ryan Gosling, Oscar
I'm aware of his work.
actor, is going just to be producing an adaptation of the best-selling graphic novel The Underwater Welder by Jeff Lemire.
Okay.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling.
Is that his first production outing? Yeah? No?
I don't
know. I'm not aware that he's produced stuff before.
Did he produce his directorial debut? I don't know.
I don't know.
I have some rumors of my own to share.
Okay. Share them.
So, boy. It was a frustrating day yesterday, losing out on some scoops that I had agreed to hold.
Yeah.
And listen, I knew that this was going to happen going over to the tracking board. People don't think of the tracking board like a Deadline or Hollywood Reporter. That's where they want their news to drop, and I don't think that they really worry too much about screwing me over or pissing me off.
Is that the title of your autobiography, by the way?
Yes, exactly.
Screwing me over and pissing me off.
Well, what? Not that that's how they think about these things, but that's how I certainly perceive them at times.
Do you want a hug?
Yes.
Okay.
After the show.
Yeah.
So, I'm just out of frustration. I'm going to tell you some things that I either have been getting stonewalled on or just because I want to.
Okay.
I don't give a fuck. I'm the boss now, so.
Why don't you be honest, Jeff?
Yeah.
Why don't you be honest?
Do you remember back maybe a year or two ago, we heard that Anna Faris was going to star in a Private Benjamin remake?
Yeah.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. I hear that's not the only Goldie Hawn movie that she's going to be, Goldie Hawn role that she's going to be stepping into.
Wildcats. Tell me it's a Wildcats remake.
It's the one that has already been announced. I hear she may be stepping in for Goldie on the Overboard remake with Eugenio Derbez.
Oh.
Yeah.
File that under films we don't need.
Overboard remake?
Yeah.
Anna Faris, though, she may be the closest thing we have to Goldie Hawn.
Yeah.
Unless you want to...
No,
it's Amy Schumer.
Literally, I would watch Amy Faris do her grocery. Anna Faris. Do her grocery shopping. I love her. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't. There would be a restraining order, and that's kind of illegal.
She stole Keanu last year, which was not a very good movie.
No,
but she was great. She was hilarious.
Do you watch Mom?
I don't.
It's a very, very funny sitcom.
Has a lot of fans.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd heard for the Overboard remake, and here's the bigger one. Sony has an animated Spider movie on the way, doesn't it?
Yeah. Spider-Man.
And that's going to be led by Miles Morales,
It
right?
is, yeah.
You'd think that you'd see Miles Morales' family, wouldn't you?
I would say so.
He's probably going to have a dad, isn't he?
Well, modern times.
What if his dad was straight out of Compton? Ice Cube.
I could buy that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ice Cube played the captain in the 21 Jump Street franchise over at Sony.
Yeah,
they have a good relationship with him. I think a lot of actors don't turn down voice work because it's just a day or two in a booth.
I guess it could be a good day.
Beyond the press stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had to be a good day. So, I don't know. Keep your eyes peeled for some animated Spider-Man announcements. I think that names are starting to get offers, and I wouldn't be surprised if Ice Cube was one of them. What else do we got? There's some other Marvel news this week.
Yeah.
Ken Leung got cast on Inhumans.
I saw that.
They've been rolling out their announcements all week.
Well, there's a lot of chat about that online at the moment.
That people are really excited for. It's getting
I'm quite
an
surprised.
IMAX release for the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Now the first 3 people that they announced. Honestly, I don't care. I hadn't heard of 2 of them. I don't watch Game of Thrones. Kroll was schooling me yesterday on how the guy in Inhumans is from Game of Thrones.
He is,
whatever.
Yowen.
Anson Mount, not a big fan, but he doesn't really have to talk as Black Bolt. But I am a big Ken Leung fan. This is who I teased last week on the show from Lost. He's been in 5 franchises.
Yep.
You see that? It's crazy how many franchise movies this guy gets. I first discovered him in Sucker Free City, a great little Spike Lee movie that you should catch up with if you haven't seen it. And yeah, he's going to be playing Karnak. I don't really know much about the Inhumans, but I know I like that casting.
Me neither. No.
Okay.
I mean, I've never seen Game of Thrones. I mean, I haven't had time, to be honest with you.
See, Kroll, I'm not the only one.
And I both love tits and dragons. And there's a lot of both of those.
I thought that's the alternate title of Game of
Tits
Thrones.
and Dragons.
Tits and Dragons.
Yeah.
Speaking
so
of Justin
you'd think
Kroll,
I'd be all over that. Yeah.
did you know,
I know
that
him.
today is his birthday?
Is it?
Oh my God!
What?
Happy birthday to Justin Kroll!
Yeah.
If you're watching,
I didn't get him anything.
I'm gonna buy you a beer, buddy.
You never buy me a beer.
Can you drink beer? Are you legally?
Can
of
I
age?
drink beer?
Are you legally of age?
I'm just 21.
You look 19.
Thank you. I appreciate
What
that.
else is going on? Daniel Kaluuya,
Yeah.
the star of Get Out.
Which, if you haven't seen, you really do need to go and see it.
So great.
Yeah.
It was
Don't wait for it to
fantastic.
come out on home entertainment. Spend your money, because the sound design on that movie.
And seeing it with an audience,
It's
like a
genius.
horror
And
movie.
seeing it with an audience is
having
great.
people jump.
It's
I sat
such a good movie.
next to El Mayimbe and his girlfriend Lauren Ash, who's on NBC Superstore.
Okay.
And El Mayimbe's a tough guy. He could probably take us both at the same time. But it was really funny sitting next to him because he did jump at a few scares, and it was I laughed.
He's a big guy. You would have felt that.
I love him. You know what? The same thing happened with when I saw Black Swan. I sat next to Josh Brolin.
Oh, I hated that movie.
Josh Brolin watched that movie through with his hands over his eyes. Like, I wonder how many like macho kind of guys get scared in those kinds of movies. We love you, Umberto, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, Get Out is just a great. I mean, that's such a solid movie throughout. So, I mean, there's so many good things that if you really haven't seen it, it did really well at the box office when it's open.
We didn't even get to the
Really
item.
strong.
Daniel Kaluuya joined Steve McQueen's Widows.
Yeah.
Him and Andre Holland from Moonlight are going to be like robbing banks, and then I think they all get taken out. You know, the heist goes wrong, they get killed by the cops or whatever, and then their widows come together to take up the heist. And Viola Davis is among those cast members. So
Did you see the story
that's
online
cool.
this week where people who'd been to see Get Out were trying to make out that it was racist to white people?
Dude, I don't even get me started on.
I read the
every little
comments,
fucking thing today,
And I read them, and I was like,
unbelievable.
no. So
I've had my own.
it was crazy.
I'll tell you offline.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Can we talk about Josh Gad?
Yes.
Outrage.
That's a huge thing.
Outrage this week. Outrage. Outrage. Because his character in Beauty and the Beast is a homosexual.
Now, this is according to Bill Condon, the
Yeah.
director, who gave an interview and said there's an exclusively gay moment with Josh Gad, and he plays Gaston's sidekick, LeFaux.
Yep.
My managing editor, Anya Kristian, wrote a really interesting piece for the tracking board talking about this decision. Now, to me, it sounds, because I saw, I think maybe it was Hollywood Reporter or someone like that. They had an article with someone who had seen the movie, and they're like, it goes by so quick, it may even go over people's heads. And that's my fear in this, is that, listen, I don't think LeFaux is really gay in this movie. I have not seen it.
It's not like we're going to see them, like, making out.
This is like a lip service quote
Gods.
to me. This felt like a lip service sort of thing where, like, it's tossed in as an afterthought, or
Yeah.
maybe there's like a joke about it or a nod to it, but I don't think he's going to be explicitly gay in this movie.
No, I mean,
just
it's not like Le Cage aux Faux, the birdcage. It's I was watching the live feed. It was the premiere in Hollywood last night, and the amount of people I saw responding to that feed going, "Disney, you are dead to me. I'm disgusted with what you're doing, pushing the gay agenda."
Oh, well, that's
and I'm like,
ridiculous.
come
No.
on, this is just, there are gay characters in movies, and it's not like, oh well, he wasn't gay. It was like,
Sexuality
We had
barely
this
has
last
anything
year.
to do
No.
with these
But it's
these
not,
animated
but
movies.
it's also like he's not walking through. It's not like there's a pride festival through the middle of Beauty and the Beast.
But it's not lost on anybody that a lot of people, Howard Ashman,
Yeah.
I believe, was dying of AIDS.
Yeah.
At the time of the animated film.
Yeah.
And people saw the Beast's curse as a metaphor for that. So,
But it's like, if you don't like gay people, I'm very sorry, but they're really not that terrifying. But you are going to, I hate to break it to you, you are going to come across gay people out and about and in movies and on television.
Disney's just reflecting the world that we currently
Yeah.
live in. I don't think they're pushing any agenda. That's preposterous.
It's absolutely insane. I don't know why everybody was getting, pardon the phrase, bent out of shape this week, but it's just like, come on.
Yeah, they should have been more bent out of shape about Tron 3 not happening.
Yeah, I know. Shut up. I was genuinely upset about this because I know the guys at Collider will back me up on this. I did not like the first Tron movie. I loved Legacy. I really enjoyed that film. I know it gets hugely derided, but I was genuinely looking forward to seeing a Tron 3 movie, which is now very unlikely going to happen. No. But the idea would have been a real world invasion movie, and I love the idea of that. That would have been so cool. You could have done so much with that. So
they get out of the world and into the real world? I've never seen that before.
It could have been like Pixels, but not shit.
Oh, God.
That would have been my pitch.
Like Hellboy 3.
Come on.
I'm completely ambivalent.
Come on.
I think Tron looks cool, but that was not a good movie.
I loved it.
And Garrett Hedlund.
I love the soundtrack.
Just the cast alone.
You're wrong.
You can't spend that kind of money on Garrett Hedlund, Olivia Wilde movies. I'm sorry.
Wrong. You're wrong.
You're
sad. Wrong. No, I genuinely like the idea of that. I think that would have been quite fun.
Do we have a clock on us? Or do we have any like a countdown in terms of minutes? Cool.
Awesome. Cool. So also announced this week, not the biggest news of the week. We'll get to trailers in a second. There were a couple of big ones this week. Trolls 2 coming out 2020.
So that was actually already announced.
Yeah.
That is all old. It was just that Universal unveiled it as that's the slot for their Universal event movie.
Yeah.
That's all.
I'm not surprisingly, I don't know where it's going to go. It was a good standalone movie. It annoyed me, but I can't deny I did enjoy it. Did really well at the box office. What was it? 342 worldwide million. Pretty strong. I'm open to the idea, but I'm like,
I didn't see Trolls. I'm not.
It would have been fine.
2.
I did not think you would be queuing to see Trolls.
Yeah.
First night front row.
I'm going to be 35 in 2020. I think I'll pass on Trolls 2. Although
okay, so that's one. Take off $15. Well, probably about $20 then for a ticket for Jeff.
Mine subtract the 15.
Sorry, Fox.
What else do we got?
You lost Jeff. You lost him at Trolls.
I did a story this week that Ashton Sanders, who starred in Moonlight in the second of the triptychs, or the second segment, he is going to join Denzel Washington in Inner City. I think that's super cool. I think this kid has a bright career ahead of him. I think a lot of the Moonlight guys do.
Yep.
You know, you've seen Trevante Rhodes rumored for Jon Stewart this week in Green Lantern Corps.
Yep.
That would certainly be interesting. I mean, he has the physique to be a superhero.
Would be great.
But Ashton Sanders, who better to learn from than Denzel Washington? You know, I think that'll be a valuable experience for him on that set. There was a lot of hubbub this week about this spec script Marion.
Yeah,
that is like a female take on Robin Hood from the perspective of Maid Marian. That has a ton of people, you know, A-list actresses circling. I think it was like Daisy Ridley, Brie Larson, Alyssa Vikander, Margot Robbie, Jennifer Lawrence.
Great.
So, you know, it'll be interesting to see who gets that. Who would you prefer out of that group just to play Maid Marian?
I would like Alicia Vikander.
Yeah, she's a little dull for me. I don't know.
Oh well, then I won't set you up on a date. I'm glad I know. I was about to do that. I was going,
she
sorry.
looked beautiful
Sorry,
at the
he thinks
Oscars,
you're dull. She could wear a paper bag
know.
and look amazing. She could work the tills at Ralph's.
I like Margot.
And look smoking hot.
I think Margot would be good as Marion.
Couple of big trailers.
Yeah, Tom McCarthy rewriting Christopher Robin for Disney. That's
like
kind of cool. After winning an Oscar for Spotlight, a lot of big trailers. Pirates of the Caribbean and Alien.
I'm not excied about Pirates. I do not like that franchise.
I'm done.
I wrote a piece for Forbes on that this week. I'll put a link in the after show actually on that about, you know, Johnny Depp and how it's the release weekend's a bit of an unfavorable one.
I don't even pay attention to
Alien Covenant trailer. Genuinely interested.
I stopped watching these trailers. How many trailers can they release? How many trailers do I have to watch? I'm done. I'm in. You sold me my ticket. I don't want to see any more.
I'm not watching any more trailers. This is it, but I'm in. And also, Logan comes out this week very quickly. We've got 2 minutes left.
9.5 million last night.
9.5 million. Looking at 65 million this weekend domestic.
I'm still going high. I'm going to take the high.
Yeah, I think we're going to see 70. I think it'll hit.
Why is this only
65
opening to
70.
half of what Deadpool is? I mean, it's really a testament to how great Deadpool's marketing campaign
Yeah,
was.
I mean,
because this movie blows Deadpool out of the fucking water.
And it's looking at $170 million worldwide. I think we can surpass those figures. I think we're going to see more than that.
Well, I hope so, because it's
word of
completely
mouth.
deserving, and
Yeah.
it's the best X-Men movie by far. Give me a break.
Yeah, no, I'm very, very pleased to hear that they're going to be doing a black and white version of it, or at least certainly that's
the new
in the
thing,
works
black
for
and
Mangold.
chrome. Who gives a shit about
But
these
come on,
things?
there are some
Mad
certain
Max
movies
and-
that lend itself really well to that. Mad Max
please.
lends itself well. The Mist looks brilliant in black and white if you've never seen that.
Does
and I
it
would
look
love
brilliant?
to see.
The Mist is unwatchable.
No, it's not. You're wrong.
It is
I'm
awful.
sorry, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Awful.
Wrong.
And
Sad.
Netflix released a ton of trailers this week that
They
were really
did.
good. Did you have a favorite?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I'm really excited by the Netflix lineup, to be honest with you. I think they're turning out some really
they're
strong stuff.
absolutely crushing
In fact, I think in some cases, some of the stuff that we're seeing coming through on the streaming services is more appealing right now than many of the studio movies coming into
For
theaters.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I would have seen a Mindhunter movie from Fincher, of course. But that looks cool. Dark looks cool. 13 Reasons Why.
Yeah.
War Machine. Aksha.
War Machine, I'm particularly
Bright.
excited
That was
about,
really
actually.
cool to see Bright in the middle of the Academy
Yeah.
Awards. We have 45 seconds left.
do.
Simon, why don't you tell the good people at home where they can find you?
You can find me at Showbiz Simon on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. This is Simon Thompson. That is my not a fan page. I don't have fans, but yeah, it's my page. So you can find me there. I'm going to post a piece to my my Pirates Forbes piece on there as well, and also my Bill Paxton tribute this week.
Awesome.
Where can we find
And
you, Jeff?
And I'm at the Sneider, editor-in-chief of the Tracking Board. Please visit us. Subscribe to our newsletters. They're
Yeah.
fun. Tracking-board.com. Thank you for watching the Popcorn Talk
Yes.
Network. Make sure to rate, comment, subscribe.
And tell your friends about the
All
show.
that great
We get a lot of
stuff.
praise. Tell everyone.
Guys, you just met Meet the Movie Press.
You did.
Oscars edition. Until next year.
No,
or
we
next
can't-
week.
Yeah.
Or next week.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Until next week.
Price
Have a good
Waterhouse are
weekend,
signing
folks.
you up.
Go see Logan.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Kristian Harloff, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of its owners or principals.